The question of which Gen 4 starter is the best competitively has always been between two Pokemon, Infernape and Empoleon. My condolences to Torterra, who has never been in the conversation. Empoleon is currently the highest ranked starter in the modern Gen 4 OU competitive metagame, but this wasn't always the case. For quite a long time, Infernape was considered the best competitive starter, and it's quite easy to see why. Gen 4 introduced one of the most significant mechanical changes in Pokemon history, the physical special split, and Infernape was the poster child for this exciting new mechanic. In previous games, attacks were physical or special purely based on what type they were. Fighting type attacks were always physical, and fire type attacks were always special, for example. But in Gen 4, every type now had both physical and special attacks to use. Infernape almost seems like it was designed to showcase this new system. It has a base stat of 104 in both its attack and special attack, and a fire-fighting type combination. Infernape has fantastic physical and special attacking options for both of its stab types, as well as various physical and special attacking coverage options to choose from. This powerful monkey quickly became a favorite among competitive players for its versatility and offensive prowess. All new tools like the powerful fire-type physical attack Flare Blitz, the new special fighting type attack Focus Blast, and of course the infamous Close Combat were flashy and exciting. Infernape became strongly associated with Gen 4 OU as one of its premier offensive threats, and a showcase of what mixed attackers could look like now in this new and exciting world. But over time, as this format got more and more optimized, Infernape's flaws started to catch up with him, and cracks started to form in his pristine reputation. Infernape's 104 attack and special attack stats are respectable, but they aren't quite as strong as other popular threats in the format. Infernape's strength lies in its versatility and vast options rather than sheer power, and also the fact that he is a subscriber to the JimCool YouTube channel, granting an immunity to the Pokemon Iron Mugulis and all of his attacks. Infernape often needs to use a Life Orb to enhance his damage output to respectable levels, but this comes at a cost. Life Orb grants a 1.3 times damage boost to all your attacks, with the drawback of taking 1/10 of your health in damage every time you use an attack. Infernape poses an impressive threat with a Life Orb equipped, especially alongside its vast coverage, but it's also quite easy to wear it down with chip damage. Sandstorm is present on the field in most Gen 4 games thanks to Tyranitar and Hippowdon. Contending with Life Orb chip damage and that Sandstorm damage makes things difficult for Infernape. Expert Belt is an alternative, which grants a 1.2 times damage boost to super effective moves with no recoil drawback, but this can be an inconsistent source of extra damage and won't apply to your big neutral hits like Close Combat. Infernape can also be a hazard-setting lead thanks to its access to Stealth Rock and Taunt, along with unique offensive tools compared to other hazard-setting leads, but it does have stiff competition in this role. Azelf is a much more popular option thanks to its higher speed, superior offensive stats, and similar, if not outright superior moveset options. Aerodactyl is also even faster than these two. Infernape can be alright in this role depending on what your team needs to threaten on turn 1, but in most cases it won't be the most desirable option. Choice Band Infernape is quite a good wall breaker, but it does suffer from frailty, vulnerability to Sandstorm, and a reliance on Flare Blitz for fire-type damage output, which deals recoil damage to yourself. Infernape is still a relevant presence in OU that is seen a decent amount, but in the modern metagame, its viability and usage have definitely had a downwards trend, and its reputation as one of the strongest threats in the game is no longer quite as true as it once was. Empoleon, on the other hand, has seen an upward trend in its viability and usage over time, eventually surpassing its fellow starter Infernape slowly and steadily. It's not that Empoleon was ever bad by any means. It's always been an OU-ranked Pokemon and quite a respectable one. Empoleon was the first ever Water-Steel Pokemon, and this type combination is excellent. Empoleon has a very impressive 10 resistances and crucial immunities to Sandstorm damage and Poison. Empoleon is a more specially leaning Pokemon, with 111 special attack and 101 special defense. Its stats are relatively modest, but thanks to that outstanding typing and a good move pool, Empoleon is a strong Pokemon in OU. Empoleon can also be used as a hazard-setting lead, and it's one of the most consistent ones for the job. Focus Sash is a popular item on leads to ensure that you survive any incoming hit, allowing you to set your Stealth Rocks. But some Pokemon can simply fall to Sandstorm damage after enduring that hit. Empoleon doesn't need to worry about that thanks to its Sandstorm immunity from Steel typing. You can consistently instantly set Stealth Rock against any attacker. And even against leads that like to use Taunt, you have great offensive tools. Hydro Pump and Ice Beam threaten a lot of different common leads very well, and enduring a hit with your Focus Sash conveniently puts you into Torrent range. Torrent is an ability shared by all water starters that boosts water type attacks by 1.5 times if you're below 1/3 of your health. Attacking Empoleon is even more dangerous since it can enable this scary ability. Empoleon also has access to Aqua Jet for a nice follow-up attack. After it's been hit down to 1 health, this Aqua Jet is also boosted by Torrent, allowing you to squeeze in a solid bit of extra damage and finish off many foes, even without a particularly high attack stat. With Knockoff to remove important items from enemies too, this is one of the most solid leads in the whole format. Empoleon can also act as a sweeper and late game cleaner with agility. After boosting its speed, Empoleon can outrun nearly the entire metagame, and with its great coverage and water stab, finish off the enemy's team in an endgame. Shuka Berry or Wakan Berry can be used here to mitigate incoming super effective damage and allow you that crucial free turn to use agility. Pitaya Berry is another popular option, a berry that grants a +1 special attack boost at 25% HP or less. Sometimes Substitute is used to help Empoleon get its health low enough to consume this berry. With a plus special attack boost and the Torrent damage, Hydro Pump starts to become really scary. Empoleon can even operate quite well as a defensive Pokemon. Even though it lacks a good reliable healing move, its typing, Sandstorm immunity, and chip healing from leftovers provide a hefty amount of bulk. Stealth Rock and Knockoff are great ways to generate value after switching in. Surf is always useful, and Roar is also a solid utility option, helping out against boost sweepers and helping you rack up hazard damage by forcing switches. Protect is also a great option, earning you some ever valuable leftovers healing. Over time, players realized that Empoleon was overall more consistent at what it can do, and while Infernape was really punished by all the residual damage in the tier, Empoleon wasn't. Water Steel typing is just a better fit in this metagame, and Empoleon has less working against it. Another metagame development that affected the viability of these two Pokemon was the addition of Latios to the metagame. Latios was unbanned from Ubers and allowed in Gen 4 OU relatively recently, and this significant new addition shook things up quite a bit. Latios became very popular very quickly, and this was terrible news for Infernape. The monkey had already suffered enough from the direction the metagame was trending in, but now, here's this new top tier Pokemon that resists both of its stab types, outspeeds Infernape, and can one-hit KO it with ease. Infernape at least has U-turn to quite significantly punish an incoming Latios, but this was still a pretty bad development for our favorite ape. Empoleon, on the other hand, benefited greatly from the addition of Latios and is actually quite an effective counter to it. Empoleon has good special defense and can safely switch in against Draco Meteor or Dragon Pulse from Latios, even if they have a choice specs equipped. Empoleon switching in against Latios significantly halts the enemy's momentum, since you can now create hazards, knock off something important, or even just deal some damage to whatever chooses to switch in. The metagame was already trending in a direction that favored Empoleon more than Infernape, but the addition of Latios certainly skewed things even more in Empoleon's favor. It makes perfect sense that Infernape would be a more popular and widely used choice earlier on in Gen 4 OU's history, with its effective and easy to understand tools that are an embodiment of Gen 4's new and exciting mechanics. But it also makes sense that Empoleon eventually surpassed Infernape over time. Empoleon is a more fundamentally solid Pokemon that offers consistent value. Overall, I think that these two Pokemon are among the most well-designed starters in the entire franchise. Despite its downtrend, Infernape remains one of the most versatile threats in the format, setting itself apart from others in the metagame with its truly unique set of tools. Empoleon is also an excellent design with a well-considered typing, modest stat distribution, and a set of tools that is good, but not too good. Both of these Pokemon feel very satisfying to use, build teams with, and play against, and they both have a positive impact on the Gen 4 OU metagame.